Do you have a 1944 penny? Most of these are going to be worth only a few cents, but some of them can be worth up to the tens of thousands of dollars, and there's plenty in between. So we're going to be covering the full spectrum of 1944 pennies, whether it's conditional rarity, a die variety, a mint error, or something crazy like the steel pennies that were not supposed to be in 1944. I'll be covering all of that. My name's Christian. This is my channel Treasure Town, and let's get right into the video for the full explanation on everything that you want to be looking for, whether it's looking really close at your coin or just being aware of these crazy errors that are out there. Let's hop into the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Cent. The coin itself, I'm not going to talk too much about the series, but one important thing to note, 1944 and I believe 45 and possibly 46 were using zinc and copper instead of 5% tin and zinc. That was because they were melting down a lot of shell casings, and that ended up being a pretty similar composition, but was technically slightly different. The previous year they had been focused on a zinc-coated steel planchet, and a few of those obviously end up getting struck with 1944 dies. We'll talk about that later. That's some of the most significant coinage in the probably all of United States history, as well as U.S. error collecting, certainly. But the coin itself, if there's not going to be any variety or any error or any wrong planchet issues, this is the values where it's worth certifying at PCGS. The high end, you really want to be hitting Mint State 67 with a shot at going higher in order to certify it. Mint State 66, you'll probably break even, but it's not really worth the hassle. If you have really gorgeous spotless coins, you can think about sending them in though. And there's over 1.4 billion made, so it's not like there's a shortage of these coins that still look pretty. In terms of some of the things to look for though on the coins, right here we have a double die obverse and it's a doubled ear. That's not super normal. You know, there's a few other coins with it. You know, 1984 comes to mind. I think there's 83D and a few others, but this is one of the ones that's on the wheat cents, so you should look for it. Not a huge valuation, and this is more for raw coins values, but it can be a fun addition to any collection, and not a lot of people are looking for it because it's not a major variety that's recognized by all the big grading companies, and that's going to be the theme for most or all of the 1944 varieties that we go over today. This one's another double die. You can see a little bit of splits in the 1, 9, and 4, and then especially below in the T and the Y, below the Liberty, though the values are kind of muted. This one's something to search for, and then of course there's also some doubled eyelid. You can see this relatively frequently, combined with some major extra thickness in the 1944, which is sort of the distended hub doubling, class 6 doubling. That's not as easy to recognize, but when you have coins side by side, then you can definitely discern which ones are way extra thick compared to the others, and that also is present in this variety, which you can see the tilting, especially in the bottom part of the I, B, and E, as the letters are sort of distorted with that extra thickness, along with the date still. Though it's not as severe as some of the other ones. 1944D has some really incredible ones that you should be on the lookout for. Then there's this quadrupled, just to show the severity. You know, I didn't get every single double die obverse. A lot of them are going to be different variations on the doubled, or in this case, again, quadrupled dies around the eyes. But this one is a good example where you can see not only a second, but a third and fourth impression. The following coin is going to have a combination, again, where the inner loop of the 9 is clearly doubled, and then you also have a second one in the eyelid where that just sort of confirms the existence of this variety. There's also some double die reverses. I think there's 3 that we're going to spotlight. None of them are super major, but especially on uncirculated, they're easier to see, where there's a small spread in the C and the N on the back of the coin. You can also see that to the left on the T. This one's a little more circulated, but it still shows through. And then there's finally this one where there's some pretty clear extra thickness, but also some splits, serifs in the R right there. You can see the separation, but distortion in the U, the S, really nice. Right here, this is sort of the big coin, Mint State 64. This is a really nice example. Often you'll find ones that you're not going to often find any of them because they're so rare, but it's common that they would have escaped the mint and then gotten a little bit of damage and then got recognized for being a 1944. This one, though, is still really nice, and the big difference is that this would be magnetic, so there's a lot of fakes. If you think you have one, it's a good chance that it is a fake. So if it's magnetic, it would look towards being real. It's also going to weigh 2.7 grams instead of 3.11. This one sold for 108,000. There's maybe a few dozen known, but these are really, really significant coins, and there have been examples found for 44D and 44S as well. So just something to note. Then there's also the unusually thick planchet. So this one looks really normal. If it wasn't the unusually thick planchet, that's like maybe 30% heavier, it probably would have been like a, I don't know, $1, maybe $2 coin. Instead, it sold for $1,000 over 15 years ago. Some people say that it was just the planchet, the stock that the coins were cut out of was too thick. Other people think it might have been used, something for foreign coins, because we were striking a lot of different coins for different people at that and nations at that point. But nonetheless, if it's unusually thick and it's a 1944 coin and it weighs way more, you've probably got another one of these. You could also find, again, to go with that theme, Netherlands. We were striking coins for them. This is a 25-cent planchet. They were actually going through a period where they were occupied by the Nazi Germans in World War II. This is a $5,500 coin as a result. Here we just see an obverse cud die break. The coins that are getting struck, they're using the dies, and sometimes those wear down. And in this case, that's what happened. So I don't know if this is, I know that there's some atheist sense, they call it, when there's the cud through the In God We Trust. Here it just says In God, so maybe this would technically fall under that label, but this is a $145 sale. This one was just super interesting visually. The metals sometimes that get mixed are not properly done, and this one's, I think, the visual eye appeal combined with the fact that this really shouldn't be happening led to a $400 purchase price for this one. And then lastly, this one was super worn, but it shows, this one, I don't know if it's a pocket piece. It probably was just being spent around either as a steel cent that people just didn't look at the date, but it wasn't actually one of the hyper rare sort of steel planchets, but instead was a dime. So this was silver, should have had the mercury dime impression on it, sold for $1,000 over a decade ago. So that brings us to the end of this video. So many different things to be looking for. It shows the depth of the coin hobby, so many avenues to treasure hunt on the varieties, interesting things to just know about with the errors, and then something to just understand in terms of the context in which they were made. Really fun talking about it today, and I'll see you on some of my similar videos going forward. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like the video, comment, and make sure to subscribe to my channel. And I also have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and some other social media platforms. You can also go to my main channel website, treasuretownYT.com, to learn more about the channel and sort of stay in contact. I also will eventually host all of these videos on coinsmetalscards.com, which will be both news, marketplace, and coin information. I do have the goal of eventually getting pretty much every US coin, date, mint mark, denomination on the channel with a similar video to the one that you just watched, and that will likely all be hosted there. And then I also have treasuretowncoins.com, which is sort of my coin dealing wing, coin dealing only entity that is a little bit less focused on content production. So thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos. I also have videos that are not just the date, mint mark, denomination recap in this format, so you can check some of those out, and I'll have fun seeing you there.